In the beginning, God created time. Now, I know that's not how we typically start that story, right? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and it was good. But today, I want to start with, in the beginning, God created time. Now, we know, time. Well, where do you see time? You see time on day one. There was evening and there was morning, and it was good, day one. There was evening and there was morning, and it was good, day two. There was evening and there was morning, and it was good, day three, and then day four, and then day five, and then day 6. There was evening and there was morning, and it was good. So in so doing, God created time. Mankind, however, likes to think that they created time. Or at least, if they didn't create it, they learned to capture it. They learned to take control of it. If you think back with me to 1500 BC, none of us were alive, I hope. 1500 BC, the invention of the sundial. One of the most groundbreaking inventions ever to come to man was the invention of the sundial. You go out with your friends, your mom says, make sure you're back at half past the shadow pointing that direction, right? Because that's how they track time. The sundial was groundbreaking. And then, fast forward a couple hundred or thousands or so years, and you have the invention of the calendar. What better way to track our time than to put every single thing, every single time, every single appointment, every baseball game, everything we have on this calendar. I hate the calendar. I don't like using the calendar, and yet my life revolves around the calendar. I was telling my wife on the way over here, if we had a flag to fly that represents America, it could be a calendar, because that's what we do. The third way that we have invented a thing to track time is the clock. The analog clock was invented in the 1600s, and we've perfected it so much that we can put it on our wrist. And the final one I want to point you to is the light bulb. That which makes time not really matter, because I can light up any time of the day. So the days went with God from evening to morning. They were tracked in the evening to the morning. It became about sunrise, it became about sunset, and now we have light bulbs, and it doesn't even matter. Right? So in all our attempts to track time, all our attempts to master time, we've actually become slaves to time. Time has become our master. Adam mentioned last week that we're all being spiritually formed by something. We're all being shaped by something. When time is your master, you're shaped by time. How many of us in any given moment of any given day say, I don't have time? In fact, for me last night, I was driving home out of time, and I got pulled over because I was rushing to get home because I was not on time. We all are always thinking about time. I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time for that, I'm sorry, I don't have time to eat dinner with you because I have to write a sermon, I'm sorry. We always are running out of time because time is our master. But I think I forgot something. We forgot to talk about day 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. On day 7, God created rest. God wanted to show us that even when we think that time can be our master, He said, no, I am your master. I created rest for you. We remember that Jesus is our master. God is our master. We remember that rest is in His hands. Our time is in His hands. Our time is another way to glorify Him. Now, I know Adam already gave away what I was talking about this morning. You already knew it last week. I'm talking about the Sabbath. What does the Sabbath have to do with time and to do with rest? Well, for me, it's pretty simple because I haven't studied it all week. But let me introduce you to this topic of Sabbath. There are two ways to think about the Sabbath. There is the Sabbath, which was a day the Israelites had given to them by God to recognize His rest. And then there is the practice, also called Sabbath. I will use them interchangeably, but it's the Sabbath and Sabbath, the practice that we are invited to participate in, and the day they were commanded to do. It's a day about not working, but it's way deeper than not working. It's a day about slowing down, about recognizing that our rest comes from God. It gives us the ability to sit with God. So, bottom line, the Sabbath for us today is an invitation to spiritually form our time around God's time. So that one more time. Sabbath is our invitation to spiritually form our time around God's time. So that's the definition we're going to roll with, and I want to give you 3 ways that we can form our life, our time, around God's time, or ways to remember it. The first one is that the Sabbath is literally about remembering. God gave the Israelites the Sabbath to help them remember creation and redemption. First, creation, we talked about it. Day 7, God rested. Let me read that text to you real quick. Sorry. On day 7, God rested. This is what he says. Thus the heavens and the earth were completed in all their vast array. By the 7th day, God had finished his work he had been doing. So on the 7th day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the 7th day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. We don't say creation took 6 days. Creation took 7 days. He didn't create anything on the 7th day except for rest. Rest is an ingrained part of the creation process. It is in the DNA of our world, and it is in our DNA. So the first thing that God uses creation to do, or Sabbath to do, is to remind them of creation. The second one is redemption. Now for the Israelites, God created the Sabbath for them after they had been in slavery for centuries in Egypt. They were slaves. All they knew was the word work. You get up and you work. You go to lunch and you work. What are you doing tomorrow? I'm working. What are you doing tomorrow night? I'm working. What are you doing in the morning? I'm working. They dreamed about bricks. They dreamed about straw. They dreamed about whips, because that's all their life was slavery, and it was working. And God said, I'm going to remove you from Egypt. We're going to extricate you from Egypt, called the Exodus, and now I'm going to redeem you and make you into the people that I chose you to be. So he says, so I command you to take this Sabbath. Do the Sabbath. Observe the Sabbath. We see that in Exodus 20. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord. On it you shall not do any work, neither you, nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servants, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them, but he rested on the 7th day. Therefore, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. They've left Egypt. They are no longer identified by work. They're identified by God. Not even by rest, but by God. And he says, because of who you are, here is what you're going to do. You're going to observe the Sabbath. He also, in Deuteronomy 5, calls them to remember the same. He says this, observe the Sabbath day by keeping it holy, as the Lord your God has commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord. On it you shall not do any work, nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant. It's very much similar to the first one. But he finishes, therefore the Lord your God has commanded you to observe the Sabbath day. So he was rewiring their brains. They had been wired for work, and he was wiring them to act on his time. So the bottom line, the Sabbath was crucial for the Israelites. It's also crucial for us. But I mentioned that it's not a commandment for us, right? You won't read any words in Scripture to us specifically that says you must obey the Sabbath. And many of us have taken that and ran with it. and decided, okay, we don't have to, so we're not going to. And we are plagued by hurry and anxiousness and stress and just feeling like we don't have enough time. We're distracted. But it is in our DNA to partake in Sabbath. Like I said before, it's an invitation to form our time around God's time. It's also a reminder for us of our redemption. We weren't saved from Egypt. We were saved from sin, much bigger than the Exodus, right? John 3:16, you guys know that one. For God so loved the world, he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. We are called to remember that. What better way to remember that than to sit in God's rest and remember it? The Sabbath was set aside by God for us to remember who we were created to be. Not what, not why, not how, but who. We were created to be holy. The Sabbath is holy. The Sabbath helps us recognize that we are holy. So, if the first way that the Sabbath points us to how we're formed is to remember, the second way is reorientation. It's kind of a long word. Another word you can think of is the word resistance. So you can think of Sabbath as resistance. Why would I talk about Sabbath as resistance? Well, for one, because we live in a society where Sabbath does not make sense. What do you mean, take a day off? I already have a day off. It's Saturday. Don't lie to me. Your day off is your day to work a little more, right? Well, I work all week, so I must now mow the lawn or pay the bills or run this errand or go to Kansas City or fill in the blank, whatever it is that you have to do. You always save those things for your day off because you finally have time to do them, because your life is structured around time and now and fast and more, and everything we do is dedicated to this society we live in called consumerism. All about taking our time. Ironically, not taking our time. Another thing that we are identified as a society is a society that acquires stuff. If we can't fill our time with things to do, we'll just fill it with stuff. Well, I don't have time for that typically, so I'll just buy more things. I'll fill my storage units. That's the one. In Egypt, they had these things called storage cities, where they would literally send all the stuff that they have overproduced, overcreated, overstimulated themselves with, and they put it in these storage cities. We have those today. We call them storage units. I have 2 storage units. They're called my garages. And I have so much stuff in them. We've lived in this house for 3 years, and I don't even know if we opened all those boxes because we have too much stuff. So we are resisting consumerism, we're resisting the urge to acquire stuff, and we're resisting extreme productivity. I mentioned that we like to work. We work every day, right? Work every single day, 7 days a week, or 6 days a week, 7 days if you have a Sunday off, but even your Sundays are filled with a 2 or 3 hour time slot for church, and then you go and work. I don't know if you mow, I don't know if you do chickens, I don't know what your day looks like, but it's always filled with work. There was a study Bob Sullivan did in 2015 about the French Revolution. In the French Revolution, they instituted a 10-day work week to try to catch up because of everything that was happening. And instead of increasing productivity, it way decreased it. They were less productive, they were more suicidal, the economy crashed, so everything intended to do better because of more productivity actually was less. John Mark Comer would say that there is no correlation between hurry and productivity. None. The final thing that we face as a society is restlessness. There's a philosopher named H.H. Farmer said if you go against the grain of the universe, which the DNA that God put in us to rest, you get splinters. All of us can identify these splinters, right? Hurry, isolation, distraction, anger, envy. The list can go on and on and on, right? All of these things that just seem to occupy our space. It's like, I can be a Christian. I can do the Christian thing. Just don't bother me because I didn't sleep well last night. Or, yeah, I can meet with you, but first I'm going to scroll on social media for 50 hours of my day. Not even 50 hours in a day, but it feels like it sometimes. How many of us, our screen time represents how we relax? And it's not relaxing. You're just worried about more things because the world is there to worry about. So, the Sabbath is about reorientation, to resist the world that we live in and reorient our eyes toward God. Now, it's not about restrictions. It's not about what we can't do. It's about what we get to do. Jesus loves the topic of the Sabbath. One of the most common places you could find Jesus teaching was on the Sabbath. He's, walking with his, this will fit well for most of you. He's walking in his cornfield, and he's picking corn because it's the Sabbath. And the Jews are like, "What are you doing? It's the Sabbath. You can't pick that corn." And he's like, "Yeah, I can, actually, because I'm the Son of Man." In Luke 14:5, he says to them, "If your ox falls into a well, won't you go pick up your ox? Or if your cows get out, won't you go and chase your cows?" Jesus is not about restricting the Sabbath. He actually says in Mark 2:27-28, the Sabbath was made for man, not the other way around. Not man for the Sabbath. There's actually a story about this. So Jesus heals a paralytic, this man that cannot walk his entire life. Jesus heals him. He says, "Get up, pick up your mat, and go." The man picks up his mat, and Jesus sneaks out. And the Jews are like, "What are you doing? It's the Sabbath. You're carrying your mat. You're not supposed to carry your mat on the Sabbath." And the guy was like, "Do you not remember that I haven't been able to stand ever? Like, I'm just carrying this." He's like, "Who told you to carry it?" And Jesus had snuck out. He's like, "Well, I don't know, just some guy that healed me, gave me the ability to walk now." And so the guy leaves, and he finds Jesus later at the temple, and he's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "Oh, I'm Jesus. Don't tell anyone that you saw me, that this is who I am." And he goes back to the Jews, and he's like, "Yeah, it was Jesus. It was that guy." But imagine telling the Son of Man not to work on the Sabbath. You can't do this stuff on the Sabbath. How dare you? He's like, "I am the Son of Man. I am the Lord of the Sabbath." The Sabbath was not made for you to operate around. You were made for the Sabbath. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. You were not made for the Sabbath. The Sabbath was made for you. Sorry about that. According to Jesus, it's not about what we can't do. It's about what we get to do. We get to orient our life toward Jesus. John Mark Comer calls this a whole life orientation toward God. Last week, Adam talked about the pie chart, and he's like, it's not like a slice of the pie. God is the pie. In this way, God is the whole orientation of your life. Your life points to God. Your life points to God. A whole life orientation towards God. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and accuse you of not knowing what it is to love God or be with God or rest with God. I think we've just forgotten as a people what it is to just sit with God. A.J. Swoboda says it this way: it is not as though we do not love God. We love Him deeply. We just don't know how to sit with Him anymore. Our society is built around rush and hurry, and God designed us to be built around rest and slowing. So I've talked a lot about what Sabbath is, what it isn't, what it was for the Israelites, what it is for us today, but I can talk about it all day long, and it doesn't really get us anywhere. We've talked about Sabbath before, talked about rest before. Oh, preacher told me to rest. Okay, I'll go rest, whatever. I want to talk about how. How do we Sabbath? And there are a couple questions that you can ask yourself. But what I want to point you to ultimately is the Sabbath is about restoration. About restoring yourself to who God has called you to be. So here's some questions that you can ask yourself. What brings you delight? What helps you slow down? What restores you every week? What do you do with your family that you're like, oh, we need to do this more often, and we never get to do it? What brings you life? What leads you to worship God more? Avoid the question, is this allowed? And ask the question, does this give me rest? So my wife and I have actually sat down and asked ourselves these questions. And I was actually really excited to preach this message because this is something that we get to do every week now. So for the 4 years that we've been married, we've never had the same day off together. Until now, until getting to work with you all. Adam and the church graciously gave me Mondays off, and that's the same day off that my wife has. So now we get to do this thing that we call Sabbath. And we didn't want to ruin it. We didn't want to waste it. We didn't want to turn into a day that we just do more stuff because we don't have time for it other days in the week. So we sat down and we talked about what does it look like to Sabbath. And we ask ourselves these questions. And so I have a list of don'ts. Again, it's not about restrictions. But it is important to build some guidelines around your life to make Sabbath worth it and better. So here's our don'ts. Number 1, don't make excuses. A lot of you might be sitting here saying, well, yeah, but you're married, you don't have any kids, so it's not going to work the same way for us. That's valid, but you're wrong. It's not about me, it's about God. Or you might say, you're just a preacher, you only work a couple days a week, you only preach a little bit, whatever. You're not wrong, but it's not about what I do, it's about what God does in you. Don't make excuses. You make excuses, you are no better than the Israelites when they were captives in Egypt who said, oh no, all we do is work. We work and we work and we work and we work and we work, and that's all that we do. There's nothing else that defines us. That's not who we are. And God says, no, I made you to rest. My friends, my church family, He made you to rest. So stop making excuses about why you don't rest. So number 1, don't make excuses. Number 2, remember it's not the same thing as a day off. I've talked about that several times, so I won't repeat that. Number 3, don't do anything that you would consider work. I hate mowing. You will not find me mowing on my Sabbath. My wife loves gardening. I do not. You will not find me gardening on the Sabbath. You'll find her gardening. I'm an extrovert. She's an introvert. I might go watch a baseball game with my dad. She will be the furthest away from watching a baseball game with my dad. Last Monday, I got the opportunity to just go and drink coffee with my grandpa. He's actually here this morning. I don't remember the last time I sat down and drank coffee with my grandpa, but it was my Sabbath, and I enjoyed that, and I was able to do that. And number 4, don't use it as a makeup day. Don't pay bills. Don't run errands. Now, I say all this, don't be a Pharisee about it. Like, don't be like, oh, Luke said don't do this, so we can't do it this way. No, it's a process. It takes time. It's hard work. It takes learning. So here's a couple of do's. Here's our do list. Number 1, do what you enjoy. That's the end of my to-do list. Do what you enjoy. Like I mentioned, I watch baseball. I go on walks when it's nice out, so not today or any day this week. I read books that I don't have the time to read otherwise. I play some video games because I really do enjoy video games. My wife, she reads. She just sits with our dogs because she likes our dogs. She gardens. She experiments in the kitchen. She's been making kombucha and bread, so, she has time for it now, right? And then together, we sleep in. We watch a movie together. We make pizza together. It's about slowing down. Your Sabbath is not going to look like my Sabbath. And my Sabbath isn't going to look like your Sabbath. Because we're all made differently. We're all made in the image of God, but we're all made differently. So, that's our answer, and this is your answer. You have to discover it for yourself. I want to point you to Hebrews 4:11. It says, let us therefore make every effort to enter that rest. Entering rest actually takes some work. It takes planning, it takes patience, and it takes a ton of grace. Because you're not going to figure it out on day 1, or day 2, or day 3, or day 5, or day 17, or day whatever. You will continually be spiritually formed into that rest, because it's a spiritual practice. It's a discipline, right? We're talking about that this whole summer. It's not something that will happen fast or overnight or any of that. It's not something that will happen the American way. It's something that will happen the God way, the restful way, the patient way. But like I said, of all of them, the graceful way. God is not about making you perfect the Sabbath. He really just wants you to take time to sit with Him. So at the beginning I talked about time, how God created time. At the end of it all, it is still about time. It doesn't work this way. I wish it did, but one sermon from me is not going to convince you all that time is not valuable, right? You're going to go to your lunch today that you scheduled. You're going to go to your work tomorrow that is scheduled, and your kids' softball game, and whatever else you have, because we know that we do live our life around time. I'm not telling you to just step out of society, but I want to remind you that you are not identified by this society. You're identified by God. Your master is not time. Your master is God. We can track time, we can plan time, we can work around time, we can never make more of time. We can make more of rest. So take God's invitation to track your time by resting with Him. Take His invitation to sit with Him. Because at the end of the day, the Sabbath is spiritually forming our time around God's time.